Well, it's been very challenging, obviously. I think the OPEC meeting was very successful. I think the fact that they arrived at a charter with the non-OPEC participants, Russia and the others, makes their position a lot stronger. They'll be able to be more effective in trying to maintain a stable market outlook. Of course, the demand is weak going into the balance of the year. But on the other hand, they are in a much more defensive position to be able to manage that weak market. I think the price correction that we've just seen is probably a bit short term. I think it's a bit overstated. By the end of the summer, we should be seeing slightly better, higher oil prices. Towards year end, it remains to be seen just what happens at year end.
So you have two key OPEC members that are under U.S. sanctions, Iran and Venezuela, and you have the U.S. producing more than it ever has. So I guess I'm just wondering what power OPEC really has over prices these days.
Yeah, we've always had hawks and doves in OPEC, and the hawks are Venezuela and Iran, and I think they've been marginalized. So the rest of the OPEC group, working with Russia, should be able to put together a good strategy, a sustainable strategy, to provide good, reliable oil supplies, but also at a price that allows investment in the future for both OPEC and non-OPEC to be sustained. And that's very important. The capital investments in the oil industry have gone down very, very significantly since 3-4 years ago. And so there needs to be a higher margin to retain ability to provide oil supplies in the long term.
Sadad, where do you stand on the Permian Basin and more broadly the recent discoveries over the last 5 to 10 years in the U.S. and whether or not they're perhaps going to be as plentiful as some people think?
Well, there's no doubt that the shale oil developments have been fantastic. They've certainly brought the U.S. production way up. Now we're looking at 12.5 million and maybe reaching 13 million next year. But on the other hand, this doesn't come without a price. The oil that comes out of the shale is not as effective in producing transportation fuels. And so you see this big gap between the WTI and the conventional oils. And in the long term, although there is more opportunity to develop shale oil, the world is consuming almost 100 million barrels, and the total U.S. production is still only 12 or 13 million. So there's plenty of room for the conventional oil production from other parts of the world to be involved in the oil industry.
Do you expect the Aramco IPO to come back to market at some point this year or next year?
Yes, that's been stated by the Crown Prince very clearly. He didn't set a time, but both he and the Minister of Energy of Saudi Arabia have said that the IPO is definitely on the horizon. So, yes, and I think the outcome of the bond issuing that Aramco did not so long ago was very encouraging. So both of those factors will suggest that the IPO is going to be back on track.